There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides beneath polite nods, under forced laughter. Behind the sentence, "I'm fine," said a little too quickly. You know it. The ache of bending yourself just to be liked. The weight of smiling when your soul wants to cry. The exhaustion of making yourself digestible for people who never really saw you, and maybe never wanted to. It didn't start all at once. It began in small betrayals. The moment you didn't say what you felt, just to avoid the sigh. The day you wore a version of yourself that was easier for them to accept. You told yourself it was just temporary. That love sometimes asks for sacrifice. But what if the price has been your identity? You started living on pause, hoping that being more agreeable, more understandable, would make them stay. That if you explained yourself gently enough, they'd finally get it. But they didn't. And somewhere along the way, you stopped trying to be understood and started trying to survive. And now you're tired, not just physically. Your soul is tired of performing a life that doesn't feel like yours. Here's the truth you've been too afraid to admit. You're destroying yourself, piece by piece, trying to please those who never took the time to truly listen to you. And it's not your fault that you wanted to be loved, but it is your responsibility to stop shrinking for it. Because this isn't peace. This isn't connection. This is slow erosion masked as loyalty. But what if all this ache, this confusion, this quiet sadness, what if it's not a sign that you're failing? What if it's the signal that something inside you is waking up, that your soul is done pretending, that this discomfort isn't your breaking point, it's your rebirth? And what if everything you're feeling is not the end, but the beginning of who you really are? You didn't wake up one day and decide to betray yourself. It happened slowly, like fog creeping in through a cracked window. You adjusted, smiled more than you wanted to, nodded when you disagreed, dimmed your light because someone once told you it was too much. You became fluent in the language of approval, carefully choosing which parts of you to reveal, which dreams to shrink, which opinions to silence, all in the quiet hope that it would make someone stay. That maybe, just maybe, they would finally look at you and see you, but they never did. And somewhere along the way, you started disappearing, not in a dramatic way. No, it was subtle. 1,000 tiny erasures, laughing at jokes that hurt, saying yes when your chest screamed no, being there for everyone, except yourself. You told yourself it was kindness, empathy, being a good person, but deep down you knew it was fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear that your truth was too heavy, too complex, too different. So you performed, not on a stage, but in every room where being yourself felt like a risk. You wore the mask so long it began to feel like skin. And the saddest part, you became good at it, too good. You learned to read the room before you read your own feelings. You anticipated needs before you honored your own. You made yourself small in a world that never asked you to be big, just convenient. It's a silent kind of suffering. The world praises you for being easy, adaptable, kind. But inside, you're screaming into a soundproof room, and no one hears the echo but you. This is the invisible prison of self-denial. No bars, no locks, just the constant pressure to be liked. To be good enough for people who never really tried to understand who you are beneath the costume. And the most painful part? You started believing them. Believing that your emotions were too much, that your needs were inconvenient, that your intensity was a flaw, not a form of aliveness. You began to mistrust your own instincts, question your own reality. You thought, maybe I am the problem. But stop, look closer. What if you were never the problem? What if you were just surrounded by people committed to misunderstanding you? What if you've been performing a character your whole life, and now your soul is begging you to break the script? Buddhism teaches that suffering often comes from clinging, not just to things, but to identities, roles, illusions of who we think we need to be in order to be safe, loved, or seen. And this mask you wear, it's not protection, it's a cage. There is nothing noble about abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. There is nothing enlightened about making yourself small so others don't feel insecure around your truth. The irony is, The more you try to be understood by those who don't see you, the more you lose the parts of you that ever could be. You don't need to be decoded, you need to be allowed. And the first person who has to give you that permission is you. So here's the question. If you stopped performing, who would you become? If you stopped asking the world to clap for a version of you that isn't real, what would happen? Would you fall apart? Or would you finally begin to live? Because you weren't born to be pleasing. You were born to be whole. What part of yourself are you still hiding just to be accepted? Write it below, like it's the first time someone will actually listen. Pain has a strange way of becoming part of your shape. Not all at once, but gradually, like water carving stone. You think you've moved on. You laugh, you work, you function. But deep underneath, there's a quiet tension, a heaviness that never quite leaves. You don't talk about it much. Maybe you've tried, only to be met with confusion or worse, silence. So you stopped. You tucked it away. You told yourself, it's not that serious. But it is. Because the pain you carry isn't just about what happened. It's about how alone you felt in it. The moments that changed you weren't always loud. Sometimes they were a look of disapproval that made you shut down, a cold comment that made you question your worth, a goodbye that didn't come with explanation, just absence, tiny moments, but they sink deep. And without realizing it, you began to shape yourself around the pain. You stopped asking for what you needed. You stopped expressing what you truly felt. You became the peacekeeper, the strong one, the one who doesn't let things get to them. But the truth is, it got to you. It still does. The child in you still remembers the sting of not being chosen. The teenager still aches from not being understood. The adult still wonders if maybe being invisible was easier than being rejected. This is not weakness. This is the cost of surviving in a world that didn't know how to love your depth. In Buddhist understanding, suffering is not the enemy. It's a teacher. It strips away illusion. It shows us where we're still clinging, where we're still hurting, where we're still pretending. The pain you've been carrying, it's not here to destroy you. It's here to reveal you. Because in the center of every wound, there's truth. Not the truth they gave you. The one that says you're too much, too sensitive, too complicated. But your truth, the one that says, I feel deeply, I love fully, I care intensely, and none of that is a flaw. The sadness you hide is sacred. It means you were present, you were open, you let life touch you. And yes, it broke you, but not into pieces. It broke you open. You learned how to sit with heartbreak. You learned how to keep going without closure. You learned how to hold space for emotions that no one ever taught you to name. That's not damage, that's wisdom. Your pain is not a sign that you're lost. It's proof that you've been alive in a world that often asks you to be numb. So maybe the question isn't, when will I stop hurting? Maybe it's, what is this pain trying to teach me? And maybe, just maybe, your sadness has been shaping something inside you all along. A deeper compassion, a clearer sense of self, a strength that doesn't shout, but stays. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are breaking free from the lie that you have to hide it. So let the ache speak, not to be pitied, but to be witnessed. Because when you stop fighting your sadness, something shifts. It stops being the enemy and becomes the guide. It stops pulling you down and starts pointing you inward. And there, in the silence beneath the performance, the pressure, the pretending, you find yourself. Not the one they wanted, not the one you performed, but the one you've always been. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It's not bitterness. It's not detachment in the cold sense of the word. True letting go, the kind that Buddhism speaks of, is a sacred release, a quiet returning to yourself after years of carrying what was never yours to hold. You don't let go because you don't care. You let go because you finally understood. You can't keep breaking yourself just to keep others comfortable. All your life, you've tried to make it easier for them to love you. You softened your truth, dulled your edges, filtered your feelings. You tried to translate your soul into a language they could understand. But what if the goal was never to be understood by them? What if the real freedom is in no longer needing to be? There is a strange kind of peace that comes when you stop asking people to validate your existence. When you stop holding your breath, waiting for them to finally say, "I see you." Because the truth is, some never will. And that's not your failure. That's just their limitation. So let them go. Let go of the version of you that was always adjusting, always apologizing, always hoping. Let go of the need to be decoded. You were never meant to be small enough to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. Freedom begins where self-abandonment ends. You start to feel it the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop overthinking every word, every silence, every reaction. The moment you realize that being misunderstood is survivable, but losing yourself trying not to be is not. And as you begin to release, you feel it. Your body relaxes, your voice steadies, your thoughts become quieter, clearer, like taking off a mask you didn't realize was suffocating you. Letting go feels like walking barefoot after years of armored shoes. You remember the ground. You remember the rhythm of your own breath.
You begin to trust yourself again, and as I can say, there is a new this morning. Just stop pressing it. It's not about becoming indifferent, it's about becoming aligned. You still care, but now the distance you still live, you still listen, but
This is the paradox. The less you strive to be accepted, the more you attract people who meet you exactly where you are. Because authenticity has a vibration, and once you stop muting yours, the right people will find you. Not the edited version, not the agreeable one, but you. And you'll finally understand. You were never too much. You were just in places too small for your truth. So let go. Let go of needing to be liked. Let go of chasing approval like a currency. Let go of holding on to people who only see the surface of you. You are not here to perform. You are here to live, fully, wildly, gently, honestly. And the moment you choose yourself, not in rebellion, but in reverence, that's when everything begins to change. That's when freedom stops being a concept and becomes your reality. There comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you realize you're done fighting. Not because you've given up, but because you're finally ready to stop betraying yourself just to win a love that was never real. You're ready to stop editing your soul for people who never asked to read it. You're ready to return. This is not the dramatic ending the world expects. It's not a loud goodbye, not a sudden transformation. It's softer, slower, more sacred. It begins in silence. The silence that follows after you've cried all your tears. The silence that comes when the performance ends and the stage lights dim. When there's no one left to impress, no mask left to wear, and no more energy to pretend. And in that silence, something unexpected happens. You hear yourself again. The raw, unfiltered voice of your inner life. The parts of you that were pushed aside, hidden beneath years of pleasing, surviving, performing. They begin to speak. "I miss you," they whisper. "I've been waiting." Buddhism teaches that truth isn't found in becoming something more. It's found in unbecoming everything you are not. And what remains, when you stop trying so hard, is not emptiness. It's clarity. You don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to earn worthiness. You just have to stop resisting what's already true. Because right now, in this very breath, you are enough. Not the curated you, not the agreeable you, just you. The one who feels deeply, the one who tried so hard, the one who carries pain with quiet grace. You don't need to fight to be seen. You need to see yourself. That's where healing begins. Not in changing, not in achieving, but in finally sitting down with your own heart and saying, "I'm here and I'm listening." Let it all fall away. The roles, the pressure, the fear that you have to be more, do more, explain more. Let yourself be nothing for a moment. Just breath, just body, just presence. And maybe you'll notice the weight begins to lift. Not because your circumstances have changed, but because you have. You've stopped abandoning yourself. And in that space, something beautiful emerges. Peace. Not the kind you force, the kind that arrives when there's nothing left to prove. You begin to live from within, not chasing, not grasping, just being. You look around and realize the love you were begging others to give you. It was yours all along. The safety you craved from others. It begins when you come home to yourself, and the silence that once felt like loneliness now feels like truth. So here you are, not fixed, not perfect, but present. And maybe, just maybe, that's more than enough. So breathe and ask yourself, not with fear, but with quiet honesty, what if everything I've been searching for begins the moment I stop fighting who I already am?